See you later.
In the quiet town of Meadowvale, there lived a young boy named Ryan. With hair the color of autumn leaves and eyes that mirrored the sky on a clear day, he was known for his adventurous spirit and unyielding curiosity. Every afternoon, after school, he would grab his trusty bike and explore the winding trails that stretched through the dense woods at the edge of the town. Today was no different, except the air felt thicker, the shadows deeper. The usual chirp of the birds and rustle of the leaves was replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to whisper secrets only the trees knew. As Ryan pedaled along the dirt path, a strange feeling of unease crept up his spine, but he shrugged it off as the whims of an overactive imagination. But the whispers grew louder, and soon they turned into distant screams. His heart pounded in his chest as he skidded to a halt. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up as the screams grew closer, piercing the tranquil woods with a chilling echo. Frozen in place, Ryan's eyes darted around, searching for the source of the horror, his breath shallow and quick. The bike fell to the side as he bolted deeper into the woods, branches slapping against his face and thorns tearing at his clothes. His sneakers sank into the soft earth, leaving a clear trail behind him. The screams grew louder, more desperate, and soon, they were accompanied by the sound of snapping twigs and crunching leaves. Someone, or something, was definitely pursuing him. Ryan's thoughts raced faster than his legs could carry him. Who was it? What did they want? His mind conjured images of the local urban legend, the Meadowvale murderer, a psychopath who supposedly roamed these very woods. His palms grew slick with sweat, making it hard to grip the flashlight in his trembling hand. He'd heard the stories, but never believed them. Not until now. He pushed through a thick patch of brambles, tearing his shirt and skin. The thorns clawed at him, but he didn't stop. The screams grew louder, the panic in them unmistakable. It was a girl's voice, he realized with a jolt. The thought of someone else in danger spurred him on, despite the fear that clutched at his chest like icy fingers. Then, through the tangled underbrush, he saw it. A flash of white, a sneaker, just like his, sticking out from a clump of leaves. His stomach lurched as he recognized the laces, the same pattern he had seen on his own feet every day. It was a body, a young boy not much older than himself, lying lifeless on the forest floor. His eyes were open, staring blankly at the canopy above, a silent plea for help that would never come. Ryan's legs refused to move at first, his mind unable to process the grisly sight before him. But the screams grew closer, snapping him out of his paralysis. He took off, sprinting through the woods like he had never done before. The branches that had been his playmates now felt like the outstretched arms of the monster that pursued him, eager to hold him back. His house was his sanctuary, a beacon of safety in the distance. The thought of its warm embrace and his mother's comforting voice was the only thing that kept him going. Each stride brought him closer, each gulp of air filled him with a newfound determination to escape the horror that had become his reality. The screams grew faint as he distanced himself from the grim discovery, but they remained a chilling reminder of the danger that lurked behind. As he approached the clearing where his house stood, the trees parted like curtains, revealing the welcoming porch light. His lungs burned, his legs screamed for mercy, but Ryan didn't dare slow down. He could almost feel the warmth of the indoors against his skin, taste the sweet relief of safety. He burst through the back door, slamming it shut with a force that rattled the windows. "You're not gonna believe what happened at the game last night, man," Jerry said, his eyes wide with excitement. Ryan looked up from his locker, curiosity piqued. "Yeah, what did you do? Score the winning goal?" Jerry chuckled, shaking his head. "Nah, even better. You know that new kid, Jamie?" Ryan nodded. "The one with the shaggy hair and the soccer skills to match." "That's the one," Jerry said with a knowing smile. "So, get this. Bryden and I were hanging out by the snack bar when she showed up. She's been watching us play from the sidelines for weeks, but she's never talked to us before." Ryan leaned in closer, intrigued. "What did she say?" "Well, she walks up, all casual like," Jerry began, mimicking Jamie's swagger, "and says, 'You guys are pretty good. Think you could teach me a few moves?' And you know Bryden, always eager to show off, starts spouting off about formations and strategies. Ryan couldn't help but chuckle at the mental image of his friend, who was notorious for his love of soccer, getting carried away with explanations. I bet you had to reel him in. You're not wrong, Jerry said, rolling his eyes playfully. But then she looks at me and says, or maybe you could show me some moves, Jerry. And let me tell you, my heart practically stopped. So we head to the field, and she's actually not half bad. We're passing the ball back and forth, and I'm just trying to keep my cool, you know. Ryan grinned, giving Jerry a playful nudge. Yeah, I bet you were smoother than a freshly waxed car. Jerry grinned back, his cheeks reddening slightly. I like to think so. But anyway, she's got this fiery spirit, man. We played for hours, and she didn't quit once. And she's got this laugh, it's like music, you know. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch and the start of their next class. They slammed their lockers shut and made their way to the field, the anticipation of the upcoming match thick in the air. Ryan felt a peculiar mix of excitement and nervousness for his friend. He knew Jerry had had his fair share of crushes, but this one seemed different. As they approached the field, they saw the rest of the team warming up, the sound of soccer balls thumping against the turf echoing through the air. The stands were slowly filling up with students, teachers, and parents, all eager to watch the school's most popular sporting event. The game began with a whistle that seemed to pierce the very fabric of time, and Ryan found himself transported to a universe where every movement, every breath, was synonymous with the flow of the match. The sun cast a warm glow over the players, and the scent of freshly cut grass filled the air. The three friends played like a well-oiled machine, their years of friendship translating into an unspoken understanding on the field. As the ball was passed to him, Ryan felt the weight of it in his hands, the leather a familiar comfort against his skin. He took a deep breath and set his sights on the goal. The other team's defense was tight, but he had a plan. He feigned a pass to Brighton, and as the opponent's eyes followed the fake trajectory, he swiftly changed direction, dribbling the ball through their legs with a grace that could only be attributed to a dance with fate. The crowd's murmur grew to a roar as he sprinted down the field, his cleats digging into the turf with every stride. The smell of sweat and grass mingled with the faint scent of popcorn from the snack bar. His heart pounded in his chest, a steady drumbeat that matched the rhythm of his feet. The air was electric with anticipation, and the only thing that mattered was the sweet sound of victory. Jerry and Brighton fell into step beside him, their movements a harmonious blur as they worked together to outmaneuver the opposition. The other team's defense was a wall of humanity, but Ryan had a plan. He saw an opening, a sliver of space that whispered to him, beckoning him to take the shot. Without a moment's hesitation, he kicked the ball with all his might, watching as it soared through the air like a majestic bird in flight. The crowd's eyes followed the arc of the ball, their collective breath held in suspense. The goalie dove, fingers stretching out like desperate tendrils trying to grasp the elusive victory. But the ball had other ideas, curving gracefully around the outstretched gloves and nestling into the back of the net with a satisfying thwack. The stands erupted in a symphony of cheers and applause, the noise a physical presence that seemed to shake the very ground beneath their feet. Ryan's heart raced as he sprinted back to the center of the field, his chest heaving with the exertion. He couldn't help but glance at the sidelines, searching for Jamie's face among the sea of supporters. He found her easily enough, her eyes sparkling with excitement and a hint of something more. A smirk played at the corner of her mouth, and Ryan felt a warmth spread through his chest that had nothing to do with the exertion of the game. The final whistle blew, and the team swarmed around him, slapping him on the back and shouting congratulations. They had won the match, their undefeated streak intact. Amidst the high fives and cheers, Ryan caught a glimpse of someone in the crowd that didn't belong. A figure from the shadows of last night, the psycho who had chased him through the woods. Now standing at the edge of the field, watching him with an eerie calmness. He blinked, and when he opened his eyes again, the figure was gone, swallowed by the sea of faces. His heart raced, and he swiveled his head, searching the sidelines for any sign of the person who had haunted his dreams. The adrenaline from the game had transformed into cold dread, creeping up his spine like a chilling embrace. Dude, you okay? Ryan shouted over the din, slapping him on the shoulder. You look like you've seen a ghost. Ryan blinked again, trying to clear his vision. Yeah, I'm good, he lied, his voice tight. Just a little lightheaded. Ryan looked at him skeptically. You sure? You're not gonna pass out on us, are you? Ryan forced a laugh, trying to shake off the unease. Nah, I'm good, just gotta get some water. He sprinted to the bench and grabbed a bottle, downing it in one go. The cold liquid helped, but the image of the psycho's unsettling gaze remained etched in his mind. He scanned the crowd again, his eyes darting from face to face, searching for any sign of the figure. But all he saw were his classmates and teachers, talking and laughing as if nothing was amiss. The match had taken a toll on him, physically and mentally. His muscles ached, and his heart was still racing, not from the exhilaration of victory, but from the jolting fear that had gripped him. He hoped it was just his imagination playing tricks on him, a hangover from the previous night's terror. As they made their way off the field, Ryan's eyes searched for Jamie among the dispersing crowd. He needed to talk to her, to confirm she was okay, to find out if she had seen the same person he had. The sea of faces grew thinner as people began to head home, the echoes of the game fading into the distance. As they made their way off the field, Ryan's eyes searched for Jamie among the dispersing crowd. He needed to talk to her, to confirm she was okay, to find out if she had seen the same person he had. The sea of faces grew thinner as people began to head home, the echoes of the game fading into the distance. Ryan's legs felt like lead as he trudged along the sidewalk, the aftermath of the game's adrenaline wearing off and leaving him with a peculiar mix of fatigue and anxiety. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced along the pavement. The sight of a familiar figure in the distance brought a glimmer of relief to his eyes, and he quickened his pace. It was Jamie, her shaggy hair bouncing as she walked, her backpack slung over one shoulder. As he approached, he called out to her, his voice carrying over the rustling of the leaves in the trees above. She turned, her eyes lighting up when she saw him, and she waved enthusiastically. The sight of her smile washed away some of the tension from his body, but the memory of the eerie figure at the game lingered like a bad taste in his mouth. Hey, Jamie, he yelled, jogging the last few steps to catch up. What's up? Not much, just walking home, she replied, her eyes scanning him up and down. You guys look like you kicked some serious ass out there. Thanks, Ryan said, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. But fuck, that was intense. Jamie raised an eyebrow. You okay? Ryan took a deep breath, trying to shake off the lingering fear. Yeah, just the game, you know how it gets. He didn't mention the figure from his nightmare. He didn't want to burden her with his shit. Yeah, the crowd went wild for that last goal, Jamie said, her voice filled with genuine excitement. You're a total badass, man. Ryan couldn't help but chuckle, the tension in his chest easing slightly. Thanks, but I couldn't have done it without you guys. As they walked together, the conversation flowed easily, ranging from the game to their classes to the latest drama in the school hallways. It was easy to forget about the shadowy figure when he was with Jamie. She had a way of bringing light to everything she touched. But as they turned the corner onto her street, his mind drifted back to the unsettling encounter. Suddenly, he saw her. Stephanie, the girl who had been his neighbor and girlfriend before she had moved away 3 years ago, was standing in front of her old house, her eyes locked on him with an intensity that made his heart stutter. The wind picked up, sending a shiver down his spine, and the leaves around them whispered secrets that only they could understand. Steph, he murmured, his voice barely audible above the rustling of the trees. Her eyes never left his, and she took a step forward, her hand outstretched. Ryan, she said, her voice a ghostly whisper on the wind. Come with me. Ryan felt a strange compulsion to follow her, and before he knew it, he had taken her hand. She led him down the street, away from the bustling crowd, and into a narrow alley that he had never noticed before. The walls closed in around them, the shadows growing denser, and he felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. His heart hammered in his chest like a wild animal trying to escape a cage. They stopped in front of a dilapidated house that looked like it had been abandoned for years. The paint was peeling, the windows cracked, and the door hung open like a gaping mouth, revealing a darkness that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy. "Steph, what's going on?" he asked, his voice shaking. Her smile grew wider, and she leaned in, her breath hot on his neck. "I've missed you, Ryan," she whispered, her eyes gleaming. "I've missed this." And before he could react, she pressed her lips to his, the taste of mint and something else, something darker, flooding his mouth. He was frozen, unable to move or speak, as she led him into the house, the door creaking shut behind them like the jaws of a beast swallowing its prey.